What's up, YouTube? Mike Wilcoxon back at one click away. We're going to do a part 2 on what's going on with Robinhood and Wall Street. Alright, so here's a little recap. So a couple of days ago, Wall Street Bets thread on Reddit. All these guys figured out that there were hedge funds on Wall Street who were betting against certain companies that were becoming a little less relevant, like GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, Nokia, and a bunch of those. So what the hedge fund guys did was they put bets against these companies in hopes that the share price would go lower and probably ultimately that they go out of business. Well, the Main Street investors at Wall Street Bets decided they didn't want the hedge funds to keep making more money, and instead they wanted to stick it to them by buying up all these shares of GameStop and AMC and Nokia and BlackBerry. Mainly GameStop is what we're going to be focused on. And what they did by doing that was they drove up the price of each share of GameStop. So this forced the hedge fund managers to ultimately lose a whole bunch of money to the tune of about $16 or so billion. I'm just going to break down pretty much what shorting is. So short selling or shorting is placing a bet on a stock that declines in value. To do this, you have to borrow shares from another investor and then sell them. But remember, those shares aren't yours to sell. You borrowed them. This means you are obligated to buy the shares back so you can return them to the original owner. This is what the hedge fund guys on Wall Street were doing. They were shorting GameStop. So let's say that a short trade has gotten crowded. A whole bunch of hedge fund managers on Wall Street did this to GameStop. When there's a lot of short sellers, all of whom have borrowed shares, and all who must eventually pay them back. But this is basically it's like a tinderbox just waiting for a match. If anything causes the stock to rise, it can quickly turn into a buying frenzy as the short sellers trip over one another to buy the same shares so they can cut their losses and exit the trade. The higher the stock price goes, the more short sellers are forced to cut their losses by buying back the shares that they sold, and their frantic buying drives the price even higher, forcing more short sellers to follow their lead. Panic buying leads to more panic buying, egged on by speculators who know the situation the short sellers are in and actively try to put the screws to them. This is a short squeeze. So when Robinhood investors decided to buy up all these shares of GameStop when it was at a really low price, it caused the share price to go up, which made the hedge fund managers in Wall Street freak out, and they lost a whole ton of money, which led to Robinhood and a bunch of other platforms to halt trading on GameStop and a bunch of these other securities. So anyway, this happened. The Wall Street Bets guys were doing really well. The price shot up from about $20 a share all the way to about $330 plus a share, and a bunch of people made a whole bunch of money, and it was great. But of course, Wall Street didn't like this, and neither did these stock brokerages because they're kind of in bed with Wall Street and some of these hedge fund manager guys. And alright, so Robinhood carries out trades on behalf of individual investors like you and me and these Wall Street Bets guys. Alright, Robinhood carries out those trades by routing them to other firms to execute in the actual relevant market using a computer somewhere. One of the firms that does that for Robinhood, and in fact pays Robinhood for that privilege, is Citadel Securities. Now, Citadel Securities and Citadel L.L.C. are both owned by the same mega billionaire. Just wait, I'm going to connect the dots for you. So, on Thursday, like I said, Robinhood limited the amount of GameStop stock its users could trade, and some of these users aired their suspicions that it had done so in order to protect Melvin Capital, and thus the Citadel family of companies, from which Robinhood derives major income, from losing even more money. There is credible reporting to suggest that this isn't true, and that Robinhood suspended GameStop trading for the legitimate reason that it didn't have enough cash to handle the massive volume of transactions going on. Either way, the Securities and Exchange Commission says it's going to look into the matter. So since all this happened, obviously it's a big deal, and people in politics got involved. So people were expecting, the Biden administration to say or do something about it. And one of the individuals who would be expected to weigh in on the subject is the new Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. But there's a little bit of an issue, because Yellen has been paid $7.2 million in speaking fees since 2019 by a long list of corporations, including many major banks and investment firms. One of them happens to be Citadel. Her disclosure form doesn't distinguish between Citadel Securities and Citadel L.L.C., from which she got $810,000 for 2 speeches and a series of webinars. So you can see there's a bit of a conflict of interest there. And something else really interesting. The new White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, or however you say her name, her husband, Jeff Psaki, is actually the portfolio manager at Citadel. What do you know? So if this isn't fishy, I don't know what is, but it sounds like some of these people might be in bed with some of these other people, and this led to having the Wall Street hedge fund people tell Robinhood, or worked out a deal with Robinhood and some of these other platforms to halt trading, to stifle the little guy. This is market manipulation at its finest, and not finest in a good way. It's really, really sad, and it's a huge issue. So where do we go from here? Well, as I mentioned yesterday, there is a class action lawsuit that you can join in on. If you Google it, Robinhood class action lawsuit on Google, you should be able to find, I think it's a Google form, where you can go in there and put in the details about what happened in your case, and if you have numbers associated with your losses or what have you, you can enter those in there, and you can become one of the thousands of people who are victims in this class action lawsuit against Robinhood. Now, I've still heard, I haven't been able to confirm it, but it's been said that Webull and several other platforms were also complicit in limiting the securities that us Main Street investors could buy. So I'm going to look into that some more. I don't know if that's the case exactly. I know that E-Trade, from what I've heard, did not put any limitations on any of the securities at all, so they're a good one if you want to switch over. I think they have some fees, though, that you might want to be aware of. I'm going to take everything from my Robinhood account, and I'm going to go over to Webull in the interim anyways. I just need to get away from Robinhood. Robinhood's actually been complicit and is alleged to have done some other shady things in the past, which, after this is kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me with Robinhood. So if you want to come over to Webull, I'll let you know how I like it. I'll make a video on how to sign up and to walk you through some of the features that Webull has to offer. Alright, thanks guys. I just wanted to give you this short update as to what I've learned since yesterday, and I just want you guys to know that there's a little something I think is fishy going on in Washington with a couple of these figureheads, Biden administration, Jen Psaki and her husband Jeff Psaki, and Miss Yellen, the Treasury Secretary. Let me know what you think in the comments. If I missed anything or I need to clarify anything or you know something that I don't, make sure you leave in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video with somebody who you know could benefit from it. Remember, you might only be one click away from learning something new that could change your life for the better. And that could just be as simple as switching from Robinhood to Webull. I don't know. But go to my website, check it out. It's www.oneclickawaychallenge.com, and check me out. I got a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of good tools, services, resources for you. Also, if you go to the link in my bio, well, I don't have a bio on here, I guess. Use the link in the description, www.mikewilcoxon.com/one-click-away. You get a free insider's guide called The Art of Personal Finance, where it's kind of like a small crash course handout sort of thing, where you can kind of get a good foundation, a good start, how to supercharge or jumpstart your personal finance situation, get on the road to financial wellness, and hopefully financial freedom one day. Guys, thanks a lot. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next time on One Click Away.